Well, actions do tend to have consequences. Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. You saw Chris MacFarland and Joe Sakic chat today. We'll have that full interview for you here in just a minute. Big E and Rudo. E, any real big surprises for you today? Not really for me.
No, not really for me. I mean, that's exactly what I expected. And we'll get into details today about it. But, well, I think it's par for the course. I think that what was going to happen, would I have done anything differently? I don't know. We'll talk about it and, my thoughts and your thoughts. But, I think it's disappointing. It's heartbreaking. It still stings, and it will sting till the playoffs
for a while
next year.
Yeah,
it just does.
Maybe longer than that. We'll see.
But, yeah, exactly. Yep.
One of the key quotes that I think is coming out from everyone, not just MacFarland and Sakic today, but Bednar at the end of the run, a lot of the players. This was a group that I think everyone legitimately thought could win the Stanley Cup, and they didn't even get out of the first round. So the only way to describe that is disappointing. I do want to talk about all of the topics today, but it makes most sense to have you guys hear the interview. It's a long one, so we're probably going to break it up into a couple of sections, but MacFarland and Sakic did talk a lot. So let's hear what the GM and president of Hockey Ops had to say about the Avs season.
Good afternoon, everybody. Avalanche General Manager Chris MacFarland, President Joe Sakic. Just raise your hand like normal and I'll call on you to ask questions. And before we begin, Chris has a very brief announcement.
Today we made a difficult decision. We're going to move on a good hockey man and a good person and a good coach in Ray Bennett. So just wanted to start off with that and thank Ray for many, many years of 100% commitment to us. Ray's been around a long time, and that was not an easy start to the day. So,
open up for questions. Raise your hand. Go ahead, Ryan.
Obviously, it's kind of cup or bust, but I'm curious from each of you just how you assess this season and the finish.
I'll start and then let Joe chime in. I think anytime you can qualify for the playoffs in this league, that's an important goal. We're trying to finish as high as we can in the regular season. We had some challenges, obviously, to start the year, but we grabbed one of those spots. But the ending was very disappointing. We'll admit that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of turnover this year. I think that after the deadline, we really liked the team we had. We felt this was a deep team that was ready to compete and be there at the end. So it is disappointing that it ended like that. You look back at the series and 5-on-5, I thought we played great hockey. Prepared and the guys were dialed in and we were playing Avalanche hockey. I think the difference in the series, when you look back and reflect, is their power play. They executed. They did everything they needed to be dangerous and scored at key moments of the game, and our power play didn't do that for whatever reason. Whether it was ended up being confidence, I think, but try and make adjustments, but we just we didn't have it at the right time, and so that at the end of the day, that when you look at it all, that was the difference.
Okay, we'll go Colleen, then Megan.
What were the injuries that some of the guys might have been dealing with?
Well, obviously we lost Ross Colton in the I think right through game one. pulled his groin pretty good. That was a big loss for us, but I think, everybody else, bunch of players with bumps and bruises and that sort of thing, but nothing that would warrant anything more specific than that.
Megan, then we'll go to Pat.
Nathan McFarland had some understandably raw comments after Game 7. He said even without Dallas's top D and best forward, they still couldn't beat them. So we didn't know what we're going to do next. How do you receive that comment with respect to the future direction of this team?
Well, like anything, Megan, at the end of a year, whether it's round 1 or round 2 or round 3, you assess where your group is at, where your positional holes will be, what the cap space is. You're getting into the draft. So Nathan's an emotional guy. He's a leader for our team. We'll sit down with him and have an exit interview as we do with every player at the appropriate time. But nothing really is different in terms of what we have to do now, except we wish we weren't having to do it right now. So, that part of it is when Nathan gets back from the Worlds, we'll chat with him and have an exit. But as far as, Joe, myself, the hockey staff, our off-season primer just starts too soon, too quick for this off-season, that's for sure.
Go ahead, go with Pat.
Joe, just revisiting January 24th for a second, how involved were you in that decision to trade Mikko and with Chris, and how difficult was it to trade like an iconic player like Mikko?
Well, listen, I was part of everything that was going on. And as a group, we felt we had a decision to make, and it's a tough decision trading a guy like that. But you look at where we were in the last few years, we weren't good enough. We weren't deep enough. We won in 22 because we had our stars, but we were also deep, and you can't win the Stanley Cup without it. And status quo wasn't good enough. We wanted to have him signed, and I'm not going to go into details and say talk about negotiations, but they know where they were at before the trade was made. So, but after the deadline, we love the team we have. If it was up to me, if we could do it, and we'd love to bring this same unit back and try and go on another run. But we felt we had to get deeper, and not only for this season's team, but moving forward, that just paying 3 high-end guys and not having a surrounding cast wasn't going to get it done.
Go Sean, then Jesse.
To follow up with that for Chris, how do you process when the hockey gods and what have you, when it finishes like that and something reverse Hollywood nightmarish kind of thing for you? Do you just think like, what could we have done differently with Mikko? What is this telling me when it ends like that?
Not, the hockey gods. Like I think that's just a way of saying, did you get the job done or not? Obviously there were some strange goals both ways in the series. I think you earn your breaks. For me, it wasn't about officiating at all. We just didn't get it done. We had 3 leads with 12 minutes to go, and some crucial times where we had to come through, whether it was on the special teams or whatever, to step on their throat early in the series, and we didn't do it. I tip my cap to Ottinger and the Dallas Stars. It's a very, very good hockey team. I think they had the 5th most points or whatever it was in the league. They're a great team, and we knew, Joe, myself, the staff knew, and Christmas time in January that Winnipeg, Dallas was going to be a gauntlet, and we weren't good enough at that point to get to battle with those 2 foes. And then St. Louis came on hard, and obviously Minnesota. It's a tough division, but no excuses. We blew 3 third-period leads, and at crucial times we didn't execute, and that's why we lost.
For you and Joe, is there anything you guys would have done differently in the Mikko negotiations in hindsight?
No. What's done is done. That happened. We moved forward, and we're very confident with the group we have here. We still think, we had a really good team here to finish the year. It was a lot deeper, a lot stronger than it was to start the year or Christmas time. we didn't get it done, and that's unfortunately. They executed at key moments of the game. Give them credit, like Chris said. We did not execute in those big moments, and that was the difference. But our effort was there, preparation was there. I thought, I'll say it again, like five on five, I thought we played incredible hockey, and we just didn't get it done in those big moments. And like I mentioned, I mean, their power play was the difference for them, and ours just wasn't quite as sharp as it normally is.
Jesse, don't come over here.
For either one of you guys, talking to the players after the game, it still seems like they still have a strong connection with Jared Bednar. I guess just where are you guys at? Where's the organization at confidence-wise in Jared's ability to lead this group?
100% confident Jared's our head coach.
Take over here, Evan.
Second line center's been a revolving door the last few years. Brock Nelson, you guys gave up a lot to get him. How would you assess his play, and then is there a mutual interest, I guess, on both sides in continuing that relationship?
Joe can chime in as well on that. I think Brock came in and did a good job. Like, he's a big, strong centerman, two-way guy. I know, he didn't get a goal in the playoffs, but like, we don't judge everything by goals, right? Like, he's a very strong defensive player. He's a big body. He's hard to play against in his own way. He's been a proven goal scorer, in this league, and that's the danger of short sample sizes in the playoffs, right? If we move on and he gets 5 goals in round 2 and whatever, everyone forgets about round 1. But yeah, 2 season, it's an important position, right? For every hockey team, you need that guy to provide consistent 5-on-5 offense, and it's usually a spot where it's going to touch power play, penalty kill, face-offs, that sort of thing. And Brock's a known quantity in this league, and we'll continue to do our exits and our work, and one of those is meet with Brock and find out how he felt fitting in, and we'll attack the off-season negotiations in due time and make those hard decisions.
Corey, then Eric.
I guess 2 things. One, do you anticipate any other staff changes beyond Rick? And then the other thing is, like, normally when we're in this position, it's like, how can the team get better next year? And I'm just wondering if you think the team needs to get better next year, or just how that happens moving forward.
To answer your first question, I assume you're talking specifically like hockey ops, bench coaching, that sort. No, we do not at this time. And then the second, Corey, we'll do what we do, right? We'll look at our cap space, and we'll look at our internal free agents and the external free agents, and see where the holes are, and see if the math works, and find out where we can improve the team. But our goal is always to improve the team. Next year, I think it's 95.5, so it's still relatively, very tight for us, to be quite honest. And with those holes, we're going to have to see how we can make the math work. But our goal is always to get better, and we've got a lot of players that are coming back here that are obviously good hockey players. So, that's for the next, few months here to dial that in for sure.
And I will say the one positive that we got out of this, the return of our captain, Gabe. I mean, listen, nobody knew if he would be able to come back, not even himself, and to come back the way he did. It was pretty inspiring, and knowing another full summer of training, we're very fortunate that he showed how well he played, and we're excited to have him come back to start the season with the group. And that'll be a big plus for us.
And to piggyback just off of that, sorry, Bree, Corey, knowing that and knowing where his cap space is very different than the previous 3 years. So that's a big piece that Joe just mentioned.
There were reports on deadline day. Obviously, I'm not an insider, but there were reports.
All right, we'll get back to the interview in just a minute, but we do have to pay some bills here and maybe we'll talk about it a little bit. I don't know. Either way, you got to build the team. You need a good foundation. You got to build your home. You need good flooring as a foundation for your home. So get in with Empire today. Go to empiretoday.com/DNVR. You get $350 off your new floors, whatever they might be, whether it be hardwood, carpet, tile. Empire Today has it all, and they only carry the best quality products, so you don't have to sift through all the junk. when you're looking for your new flooring. You can even have them come out. They'll give you a free in-home estimate today. They'll bring the different types of flooring that you want so you can look at it in your space and see how it matches with your room, your furniture, whatever it might be. Go check them out. If you're a person that doesn't like interacting with people, you can also go online, use their online tools to see what flooring might look like in your space. So make sure you're getting with Empire Today right now. Go to empiretoday.com/DNVR. You can get that $350 off your new floors. Of course, terms and conditions apply. You can see all the details at empiretoday.com/DNVR. Or, of course, you can always call 1-800-588-2300-EMPIRE. Once you've got your new flooring, make sure you're taking care of yourself. You got to stay healthy out there. Definitely a big part of the conversation when it comes to the Avs, who were relatively healthy for the playoffs. We're missing Ross Colton, though. So make sure you get with the official healthcare partner of the Colorado Avalanche, UC Health. Jump in with them. They just want to make sure you're living like there is a tomorrow. Whatever type of health needs you might need, physical, mental, otherwise, they've got you fully covered. Go check them out. If you haven't been, uchealth.org. Live extraordinary. Jump on with them. They have a great campus over at the Anschutz. If you've never been, bunch of awesome guys, bunch of awesome people. So make sure you go get with them. Yeah, health is good and important, and do all that stuff. You know how it is. Before we jump back into the interview, I did want to have a quick conversation. Obviously, the biggest news out of that is probably the Ray Bennett firing. We can save that for later because I do have a lot to say about that. We can talk about that at the end. But the rest of this conversation, the Mikko Rantanen trade, one they felt was necessary. I think there are some misconceptions about it. The Avs were not expecting Marty Necas to be as good as Mikko Rantanen. The Avs were not expecting Jack Drury to be as good as Mikko Rantanen. A big part of this trade is that the Avs needed to free up cap space to add multiple depth pieces, which they did at the deadline. Now, obviously, it didn't work out. Obviously, Mikko Rantanen directly beats them in Games 7 and is great in Game 5 and 6. That sucks. I'm not sure where else to tell you that. It directly blew up in their faces.
It did, and at the end of the day, Joe said it, and he said it again. He doubled down on it, and I agree with him. It's easy to say it afterwards and say, well, it didn't really work out. Well, at the time, it did work out. The Avalanche came back and were a better team. Forget about how it ended. It's the worst case scenario, the way it ended. It's a fairy tale ending for Mikko and his agent. At the end of the day, if Mikko, we all know that, if Mikko wanted to be here, he would have been here. So we're not going to rehash all that. And that's, they felt that they had to do. They were put in a position where they had no choice. Again, last few years didn't work out either. What if they do nothing? They stand back, and then you lose Mikko for nothing. I think the chat would be a lot more mad right now than, and losing in the same way. Or just as mad, as, listen, they tried. I still end up in a good deal because they were trying to address their depth, and they still have a controllable asset in Marty Necas, and get a little bit of money. I mean, again, Kale, there's a lot of people coming up, and you can't be tied down to three guys, they felt, and not have the production of the last few seasons, where they fell out short in the first round, right? Mikko or no Mikko. For everybody else was in there too. Kale, Nate,
Yeah, of course.
Ended up being, Mikko was the one that the deal was up. It reminds me of back then when it was the lockout and Forsberg was the one that had to go. It's not because Forsberg was picked. It's because look at the draw in the sense that was his timing. His contract was up, and that's it. So Mikko's the one that decided, it could have been, if it's flip-flop, maybe it's Kale that, I don't know. We'll never know. But somehow they felt good. And like Joe said right there, and C-Mac, they felt good about where they were, what they offered. And the guy didn't want it. So he was willing to walk away. So that's before the trade. He knew exactly what was going to happen. So we'll go from there.
I'll tell you this. Mikko being gone didn't make the Avs power play go 1 for its last 16. I'll put it to you that way. We do have more of the interview here, so let's hear the rest of it, and then we'll talk more.
And to piggyback just off of that, sorry, Bree, Corey, knowing that and knowing where his cap space is very different than the previous 3 years. So that's a big piece that Joe just mentioned.
There were reports on deadline day, obviously I'm not an insider, but there were reports that leading up to the deadline time that the Carolina and Dallas deal was potentially going to fall apart because they were trying to negotiate a deal for Nico in Dallas. Is there, I guess, any regret, or was there any thought of trying to do something like that where you work with the player and his agent to sign a deal when you traded him, or is that just off the, I mean, it was a very difficult thing to do. Was that just not a thought that was considered?
Like with us in
Yeah, like
Carolina and Dallas,
Carolina,
we weren't involved in that at all.
I'm saying, sorry, the trade that you made to send him to Carolina, was there any thought of working with Mikko that when you trade him, he signs in that place?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on the lead up into the negotiations that we have with the player and his agent.
Raj and then Ryan.
Back to Landy, he obviously comes in, makes a huge impact in the latter part of the series. Was there a decision based off of something with his medicals that kept him out of game 1 and game 2, or was that a strategic decision in terms of on-ice play?
It was nothing strategic. It was just he played for the Eagles. We had to make sure on his conditioning and see where he was at and get him up to speed with the NHL pace and practices, and felt that was the best. After game 2, we felt that was the best way to do it.
And he was on board. He felt the same. Just a few more practices, just to make sure he was ready to go.
Ryan, Will, and Pat.
The regular season power play is 8th in the league, playoffs 13th, 14th. I mean, is that something that factors into the decision to move on from Bennett? Is it, just an overall year thing? Is it postseason? What goes into that?
Well, it's definitely when you look on how we lost, and we just feel maybe a different voice should help. I mean, listen, he's done a great job. He's worked extremely hard. He's a great person. Our power play's been top 10 over the last few years, but we feel the way things ended, maybe a different voice going in next year could help that. But ultimately, execution comes from the players. I mean, your top players. We have some of the top players in the world on our team. They're the ones out there that need to execute. So it just ran dry at the wrong time, it's tough to make a change. You don't like to do that, but we feel moving forward, we're hoping that a change of voice might help our power play going into next year.
Will and Pat.
Joe, obviously, it's really raw right now, but this window still does feel open. Do you feel like this window is still open to win championships in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
Listen, if you've got Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, your window's open, and that's why it's important from the management side to when it comes to trade deadlines. You try and do what you can to give them the best opportunity. You're not going to have those players forever, so when you have them, you try and surround them with as good of players as you can and give them that opportunity to do what they do best.
Go ahead, Pat.
Chris, kind of to piggyback off that question is, I mean, you want to run it back, and you have the desire to run it back, but when you've been, you've won the cup, you've had some second round exits, first round exits, how do you balance the line between running it back and just blowing it up?
Blowing.
Just trying to make big trades and swinging. I mean, just trying to attack. You try. It just seems like.
Well, I think Joe nailed it. I think you got Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar and Devon Taves and now Gabriel Landeskog and Val Nichushkin and Lehkonen, and if we take that tact of we're gonna wait, then we're our guys are going, what are we doing, right? We've got good players, we're a contender, we're a 100-point team. It's that fine line, right, of balancing your picks, your prospects, and going for it, right? And it's we know the narrative is you've got these two players you've got to win versus also keeping another eye on the future, right? So we felt, or at least I did, and I know, obviously, talk with Joe all the time, when we got McKenzie and Scott Wedgwood in November and it started to look different, right? They did a great job for us in the net, and we felt like, okay, we've got, that was a big part. Those were the pieces that fell into play. But As we moved into the winter, we still, when you go to your mid-year meetings, we're not good enough. We're not good enough as currently constituted to do battle to get through our division, which the way it's set up, we knew that's where it was heading. We wanted to finish as high as we can in the division and not, necessarily be a wild card team. We wanted to go high, but that's what kind of prompted, we have a good team here, and we can do damage, and we made the decision to do it, and our players were excited, and we were excited. So that's what led to, the morphing into we got to improve the back end. We need a little sandpaper, and we had to upgrade in the middle of the ice, which we did, and it just didn't work.
Megan, then Aaron.
When Mackenzie Blackwood got here, you signed him to decent terms about ever having seen him in the playoffs. What did you learn about him in this series?
Well, not just in this, I think the first 4 games he was at the top of the charts. Now 4 games doesn't make a playoff, but Joe obviously can speak to it better than me, the importance of playoff experience and going through it. But I think from day one, he stabilized the net for us and fostered a belief that, he has to be good, but he can steal games also. And I think that's the job of a number one goalie. He's big body, he works hard, and gave us something that we were looking for. Consistent, a guy that can be a workhorse in the net and play 50-plus games, and we got him, we got to the playoffs, and he was a huge part, of that, along with, Scott Wedgwood and him stepping in and doing a great job. But I think, when I meet with Mackenzie, we're just hopefully scratching the surface with what he can do as a number one goaltender for us in the future.
Yeah, I think that's one thing going into next year. We know our goaltending is set, and I mean we're gonna be good. It hurts right now. This one stinks. We're not gonna lie to you. You go into the playoffs. Every year you want to win the Stanley Cup, but there's those years that you feel that this is like 22. We knew we had the team to do it. We feel like this year's team was on that level. And so that's why this one's going to sting. It's going to sting a little longer than, other years. But we're a regroup, and we've got great players here, great character that want to win, and we're going to find a way to, next year, be in this situation again and try and compete for the Cup.
Eric and Corey.
Is it high on the priority list to negotiate with Marty Necas a year out before UFA status to get him locked up this year, or is that something that you guys want to kind of give more time to? And then second part to that, obviously the Landeskog situation, the flatter cap, it's been hard to, it's well documented, it's been difficult to build that roster in the offseason, but given that both of those are kind of solved, are you hoping to have more of a clear roster heading into the regular season so that you're not adding Necas and Drury and all these guys, Nelson, Coyle, to fit into the system in 6-7 weeks?
Yeah, to answer your second part first, yes, knowing that, knock wood, that Gabe is everything looks like it's in a much better place, and he was able to play, for us, and get through the playoffs in a good place, and going into the off season knowing that, hopefully that we can count on him come training camp. That's big. That's huge. In terms of any player, whether it's, Marty Necas or Parker Kelly or anybody who's got one has 1 year left and getting ahead of it type of thing, yeah, we'll look at all that and try and see. Again, it takes two parties that have to want to get a deal done, and they've got to. We all know where the cap's going the following year, so we got to look at what those challenges are and make those decisions. But when you have a year out, it's not as pressing, obviously, as if it's a guy that's up on June 30th. But yes, we will look at all those things and see if we can make the puzzle pieces work and have those discussions like we do every year.
Time for a few last ones. Go ahead, Corey.
Is anybody else besides Nate going to Worlds? And is there any chance, or do you expect to see Nabokov or Koviev in North America next year?
Marty Nakish is going to Worlds, and Nathan, and I'm thinking that's it right now.
Not Gabe.
No, not Gabe. No, yeah. Not that I'm not sure if they even asked, but to my knowledge, no on Lecky and Kivy, and we have had discussions with Nabokov's agent. We'll see if we can find that. We would like to get something done there. And Gulyayev has another year on his KHL contract.
Last two, Jesse, then Colleen.
Joe, you just mentioned a minute ago that this one really stings, maybe worse than years past. I imagine there's at least a level of that's because Mikko was on the other side, part of that comeback. I know you guys don't talk, about what other teams do with dealings, but there had to be a level of frustration in your guys' office when you're seeing that deal go through, that you guys sent him out east, and now here he is coming back to the Central.
To be honest with you, we heard after the fact that he wasn't planning on signing an extension with Carolina, that there's a possibility, but no, this stings not because Mikko was on the other side. It stings because we felt we were close. I mean, we did those deals because it was wide open. A lot of really good teams, equal teams, and wanted to put ourselves in a position to be one of those teams that had a legit shot to win a Stanley Cup. And just when you watch, like for me, just watching how well we played on certain phases of our game, and how well we were prepared, the guys were dialed in, and just to see like kind of one phase that wasn't there, that's where it stings, because we felt we had the team to move on and really compete. And we played against a team that felt the same way. I mean, the Dallas Stars are an excellent hockey club. I wouldn't be surprised if you'll see them in the finals. I mean, they're going to go through some good teams as well. But that's where it stings, is just knowing the type of team we had and not to get through.
Colleen, finish us off.
With that said, power play, execution, guys having kind of off games and that sort of situation that we're dealing with, what is it, if saying that it was a team that you thought could move on, what went wrong? What needs to change?
Well, I just think I'll say I went through as a player as well. I mean, you're sometimes things just aren't going to go your way. Like I look at Cale. Like Cale played so well. He had as many chances in the playoffs as he did in the regular season on a per game thing. He might have got blocked. Great saves. Just missed the net sometimes. And those things happen. But it doesn't mean you don't play well. It's sometimes it's just not going your way, and it was bad timing for some guys. So we just missed on some opportunities, and we didn't capitalize. And but we'll get back at this again next year. I mean, like I said, it stings right now, and next year is going to come here, and we're going to have another competitive team that's going to try and that's going to have the same goal in mind and try and win. But it's just, I mean, everybody's frustrated, everybody's disappointed, just because we felt we're this close to moving on.
Okay. Thank you guys, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
A fairly honest review of things from the Avs two front office leaders. We'll get back into the conversation in a second here, but we are brought to you by Bet365. Look, the Avs are out, so you can bet on hockey without any notions of bias or anything. Just pick the teams that are going to win the rest of the way through the playoffs on Bet365. When you do use Bet365, use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Put in $10, bet $5 on anything. Win or lose that bet, you get $150 in bonus bets. Basically free money to play around with on Bet365. Maybe you win some, great. If you lose some, it's not real money. So either way, jump in with Bet365. You can go bet on the Nuggets too, since they seem to actually be able to win big games. Jump on that train if you want to get in with them. You can bet on, don't bet on the Rockies, bet against the Rockies, but you can do that too. Any other sport, Bet365 has you covered. Anything getting played in the spring and summer now, Bet365 pretty much has it on the docket. So use code DNVR365 today when you sign up and get those $150 in bonus bets. Use the QR code on screen to download the Bet365 app today. When you do gamble with them, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. And if you or someone you know is a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. And if you make a couple of bucks on Bet365, go get yourself some ice cold Coors Light. The mountains turn blue on the bottle or the can. Perfect for summer or spring drinking. I don't know what to tell you. You can choose chill. I'm in Arizona right now. It's actually kind of a rainy day, but that's okay. I'll stay inside and drink my Coors Light instead of the sweltering heat that is usually in Arizona. Nice and refreshing if you're in the heat, though. But also, you don't have to go out into the weather to get yourself Coors Light. You can head on over to CoorsLight.com/DNVR and get it delivered right to your front door, thanks to Instacart. Jump in with them. Make sure you're trying out the Coors Light brewed right here. Well, not here, but where I usually live in Golden, Colorado. I live on the east side, actually. It's in Colorado, though. You know what I'm trying to say. You can get it delivered. You can also find it in just about any liquor store in the country if you're looking for it. So it's out there. But check out CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Order it right from your couch. Make sure you're having a good time and choosing chill when it comes to Coors Light. Of course, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Please drink responsibly. All right. So that's the full interview. There is a decent amount of ground to cover there, but the main conversation here is Ray Bennett no longer with the organization. The Avs power play coach has been let go. And look, I think our podcast has defended Ray Bennett quite a bit, and I will continue to die on the hill that Ray Bennett's systems are not that bad. But ultimately, especially going back through that series over the last couple of days, I think this was a move that the Avs had to make. Not because I think Ray Bennett is a terrible coach. He has year after year after year that the Avs are top 10 in the power play. They finished 8th in their power play this season in the regular season, but one of the bottom 3 teams in the playoffs on their power play unit, and had stretches of time where what is a top 10 power play went 2 months as the worst power play in the league. There have to be consequences, right? And the easiest lever to pull is to change a coach. I don't think they should have fired Bednar. They obviously didn't. They believe in him. We'll get into that conversation in a minute. But I'm curious about your thoughts on Bennett.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to say. I like Ray. I respect Ray. Ray's been around a long time. Boy, seen him everywhere. St. Louis, LA, Avalanche. I was a player. He was a coach. He's been around a long time. Do I understand the move today? Yes. Would I have done the same thing? Yes. Does that make it okay? No. Does that stink? Yes. Is that easy to do? Like Chris, he opens the statement. It's somebody he respects and it's a friend and you become friends. It's not easy to fire someone. So that was hard on Chris. I can tell you that. And that's probably hard on Bednar too, right? Because you're the head guy and those are your guys that are around, Prater, Ray, and obviously Brett in the video room and the goalie coach are usually your group of coaches. The power play, here's what I'm going to say. A lot is made all the time about coaching. I'm going to go back, and I go back to 1.0 all the time. You're talking about the same things, same star players. Sakic, he was just answering the question there. I mean, I listen, I've lived it. I was on those teams. Then I was part of management. I'll say it again. The superstars are artists. Sometimes they'll do what they want to do. It's just the way it is. If people think that Nathan McKinnon, for example, doesn't go out there and do whatever he wants at times, and that would be with any coach in the world, then you're wrong. It's not how it works. And Joe did his thing too. But it better work when you're doing your thing. You know what I mean? Because then it makes the coach look good, and at the end of the day, people think it's
right.
That's right.
What you're saying is, yes, Ray Bennett got fired, not because Ray Bennett's a bad coach. And to be honest with you, I don't think there's a coach you can go out and get that's going to create a significantly better power play. But Ray Bennett got fired because this is a message to your players, right?
The players didn't deliver.
You guys weren't good enough, so Ray Bennett is gone now.
The players didn't deliver. That's plain and simple. And we're talking about the power play here. And I do believe CMAC talked about it, I think, or Joe, I don't remember. Very simple. It's not because of the officiating. They had 3 leads that they blew, and then the power play is a big reason why they didn't put those teams away in those 3 games. And for me, it's the number one reason. For me, is that an attack on Ray? Absolutely not. Like, for me, I'm always a player, go do your job first, and I always will be. But I can tell you right now, Ray didn't say, hey, please shoot wide, or please try that, whatever you call that, the bumper play 5,000 times in a row. I'm telling you that he didn't. I'm just telling you. But then the players were stubborn at times, and they were stubborn this year for a long time. I think Bedsy talked about it in November. I think they had a stretch of like 10-2, and he was like, well, why do people keep talking about the power play? I knew what he was trying to say. He was not happy as well, but he was like, we're 10-2. The power play has not hurt us. You know what I mean? Well, the power play hurt you in the playoffs. It did. It went back to the same way that it was hurting them in the season. And that, for me, is on the players. Listen, that's not on the freaking coaching staff. Coaching staff will tell you what to do. Again, I've lived it with 1.0. This is the same thing with 2.0. You have elite players, superstar players. There's only one puck. And then I'm telling you right now, you can get stubborn with the play you want to make. And sometimes it's like, no, it's going to work. It's going to work. And it's like, then it doesn't work. And then the puck is down the ice. And then you're missing, all of a sudden, momentum. Then you're losing the power play. And then, it's hard to say afterwards. And coaches, that's why they're there. They're hired to be fired. That's it. We've been lucky in Colorado. I think Chris and Joe have been awesome because they're not like the other GMs and presidents around the league. And, they've kept them for almost 10 years now. I mean, you're talking about this is the 10th year next year. So that Ray's been there too since that day one, right? But Prater was actually hired before Bedsy came in. But even though they'd worked together before. But so there's a lot of continuity there. And did the move have to happen? Yeah, I get it.
You had to do something.
I get it. But then again, does that wake your players up? For me, it's because it's like, hey, guys.
No, I agree.
You better wake up. I'm just telling you. Now a good man lost his job. And it's because you didn't do it. You did not do what you were supposed to do. And that's the way I look at it. That's from my experience as a player and then, working with the Avs, for example, with all-star and superstar players. And I love those guys. I love Joe. But Joe was stubborn at times, too, with his takes on the power play. You know what I mean? And, again, you got to go out there and make the plays at the right time. They didn't.
Yep. It's as much more about sending a message to the players than anything else. So I agree with you there. Ultimately, it is what it is. We'll see what a new power play coach, what a new assistant coach does for the future of this team. I do want to talk about the other coaches too, though. One, Jared Bednar, the Avs front office saying they have full faith in him. I agree. When you really look down at this series, Eric, you've talked about it. We all know special teams is the main culprit for why they were not able to win this series. At 5-on-5, the Avs played a very good series. Numbers-wise, they dominated this series at 5-on-5. Some of that is a little bit illusionary, I think. Game 5, they trailed for all of, so that's why their numbers looked really good. But even in the close games, the Avs were a very good team in regulation at 5-on-5. Probably the better team at 5-on-5 in this series. Not even probably. Mechanically, they were the better team. It's just scoring big goals is the one thing they couldn't do. That's Jared Bednar's systems. The Avs played Jared Bednar's systems well at 5-on-5, and it worked. It's the surrounding peripheral pieces that came up short here. So I agree with their assessment that Bednar is their guy and he should still be here. Especially if you're going to make moves like moving on from Bennett. You get some of that shakeup, maybe without making as big of a commitment as firing your head coach. I have another thought, though, and obviously the Avs didn't do this. I don't expect them to do this, but for the opinion of a dumb guy on the internet, I think they should have moved on from Nolan Pratt, too. The Avs penalty kill was pretty bad in this series. And honestly, the penalty kill has been a building problem over the last couple of years for the Avalanche. If you remember a couple of years ago, it got so bad that the Avs had to throw their penalty kill system out the window and just go back to a basic, simple box. It's multifaceted, right? the Avs penalty kill has always been very, very good at preventing stuff at the blue line. When they do that successfully, their penalty kill looks really good. But when they get pucks into their zone and when they have to set up in their structure of a penalty kill, it continues to struggle for a number of reasons. Number one, I think their penalty kill system is overly complicated. You have a lot of movement, and you have a lot of weird things. Most teams, as players come up the boards with the puck, will do a switch between their D and forward. They'll hand the guy off to their forward to go high in the zone. The Avs don't do this. They regularly have their defensemen stick to the puck carrier all the way out to the top of the zone. And it creates these setups where you end up with a forward playing deep on the penalty kill in a defensive spot, creates these situations where defensemen end up stuck out high. It causes a lot of problems. And I think the biggest problem here is that it's asking too much of players. For it to be a penalty killer in the Avs system, you need to be a great skater, you need to be extremely intelligent, and you need to be a really hard worker. Now, the third one, you pretty much need to be a really hard worker no matter what on any penalty kill. But guys like Logan O'Connor do not grow on trees. Guys who are great skaters and incredibly smart with their positioning. And that gets doubled down on even harder because someone like Logan O'Connor has been in their system for years. He understands all the ins and outs. But when you bring in a Chris Drury in January, not Chris Drury, Jack Drury, obviously, he has 20 games to adjust to a really complicated system that makes it hard. When you bring in Parker Kelly in the offseason, he doesn't have all of that internal knowledge that LOC has picked up over the years. And I think it's difficult for those players to adjust to that system. And all of that isn't as bad as what their defense is being asked to do on the penalty kill. You have Devon Taves, who arguably has one of the best defensive sticks in the NHL. Cool. You put that guy in passing lanes and let him do his magic. But when you put other players, when you're asking a Sam Girard, when you're asking a Josh Manson, to be honest, the winning goal of this series, when you're asking Cale Makar to have that defensive stick at the front of the net area, too often the Avs aren't able to execute defensively on it. These systems on the penalty kill, frankly, a number of Avs players just aren't capable of executing them to the ability that they need to. So maybe you don't fire Nolan Pratt, but you need to change your penalty kill systems.
Well, I agree with everything you're saying because you're bang on. I'm not going to tell you that you're not, because it's very intelligent what you're saying, because it's true and it's exactly what happened, right? So with that said, I think the difference between Ray / power play and Prater / PK, I don't believe you move on from Nolan Pratt for the lone reason that he's in charge of the D, and that's a big difference. And I'm not downplaying, right? I know you know that. I know you know that. I want to explain my point, like the chat and stuff. Like what I'm saying is, I wasn't saying you didn't know what you're saying. I agree with you. I think what's saved, like, oh, let's fire the PK guy. No, but it's true. You're right. But let's fire the PK guy, like you know, which is true because it was the PK was not good. You know, it wasn't good. It did not make plays, and you don't need to score goals. Well, obviously we scored shorty, but when I'm but it didn't. You
still lost the special teams battle in that game. Like
that's right. And again, you can say that sometimes goaltending, which earlier on the season it was hard to judge the PK because every puck was going in. This I'm not going to blame Mackenzie Blackwood. You know what I mean? Like on
the
those
worst
goals.
part of the Avs penalty kill this season was after they got Blackwood. Like,
yeah, no, but you know what I mean. Like I'm saying. If there's a blunder from your goalie, like so be it, right? I mean, of course, you don't have to change your systems because there was a blunder from your goalie. These were systematic flaws. I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. And now Prater deals with the D, and he's done an unbelievable job over the last 10 years here with the D core. And he's transformed players, and even look at no further than Lindgren these past few months. And I'm just being honest. Like for me, I wouldn't move on from Nolan Pratt. I think the Avs are lucky to have that tandem, and they're lucky to have Jared Benner. I've said that. Not a knock on Ray. I'm saying when you're in charge of, like the third assistant coach, so to speak. I'm not going to say he was I'm not giving pecking orders, but forward. There's a big difference between a D coach and another assistant coach. Because D coach, you have to have played the position. You have to, and the players relate to Prater. They do. So I think it's very important that. But now, do you change the duties of the PK next season? And again, we're talking out here that we're assuming that Prater's in charge of the PK. I mean, we're assuming, right? And that's what we're assuming.
I'm getting Cale Makar as far away from that thing as possible.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think that sometimes head coaches take over it too. They're like, you know what, I'm in charge now. I don't know how they really were working, but I do believe that they got to make systematic changes. Absolutely, you know what I mean, to what they were doing. Now maybe personnel changes, like you're right. I agree. For me, Kale doesn't belong there. I don't like him in there. I don't want him. Now, once in a while, like a minute a game, and sure, no problem. You know what I mean? But when it becomes to be so many minutes, and first of all, it's taken away from the rest of your game. There's injury prone when you're in those situations, and you need somebody in chat said it like Logan O'Connor, a bunch of dogs out there. Like Logan's a dog, Parker Kelly's a dog, Jack Drury's a dog. So when you have dogs, just make sure you don't keep it so complicated, like you were saying, because I agree with you. And then just go out there and put your body on the line, work harder than the other team, and obviously have some sort of a plan all together. I always say, all four guys on the same page, and the rule's always been, right? I tell you all the time, like butts and elbows, then you all go. It's not just one guy and then three guys sit back. You got to be in sync, Once you do that, so for me, that's why I think Prater, he wasn't going anywhere, and it's not a knock on Ray, but Ray, I even had the title of associate coach, I believe, right? Because Ray's been on a long time. Ray's a smart hockey guy, but like something had to go, and. If it was going to be it, I get it. And I think that Prater, it's different with the PK. And again, I'm assuming that he's in charge, but Prater's in charge of the D, and the D's have flourished since he's been here. Flourished. And he does agree. You know that.
No argument. No argument.
You know that. Hey, listen, the Avalanche had, 13 shots against with 5 minutes to go in the game. So, again, every game, the Avalanche don't give up much. There's a reason, because their systems are good. Because they're 5-on-5 play. Joe said it. They're prepared. They're good. They're ready. Guys play the system. Guys don't cheat the game. I'm giving praises to the players here. But somewhere, somehow, to get back to the original question, on the power play, they didn't deliver, and it cost them the series. 100%.
I don't know. The only things you change at 5-on-5 are slightly more discipline. I think the Avs did run into taking some penalties that they didn't need to. I know the ref was bad or whatever, but you got to find a way to keep yourself out of the box, and then finish a little bit better. But mechanically, the way they played 5-on-5 for majority of the series, I have no problem with. It is what it is. Their special teams on both ends let them down. Obviously, there's a lot of conversations about what's next. How do you keep guys? And we'll have those conversations throughout the offseason as things develop. I think MacFarland put it well with, look, our main focus is the guys that are free agents on July 1st. They'll get to the Natchuses, the Drurys, the Makars after they deal with the guys immediately. Obviously, Makar won't be till next July 1st, but I saw that conversation in chat. There's no conversation there. On July 1st of 2026, Cale Makar gets a blank check delivered to his desk, and he writes whatever number he wants on that. That conversation is what it is.
Which is next. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And that's in 2026.
Somebody in the chat said, "Oh, Eric, he's got 2 more years." No, I get that. No, he doesn't. That's not how it works. The National Hockey League, and you're going to see it a lot more this summer. People are like, we're talking about the offer sheets last summer. There'll going to be a boatload more this summer of offer sheets, because of the, the way it worked for St. Louis, and the way, Edmonton kind of got caught a little bit there, thinking there was. And I'm telling you right now, and I've heard people say, and I'm talking about GMs around the league right now, saying they're going after it this summer. They want to use that more. It's part of the CBA, and you're going to see it more and more. So yeah, if you let Cale Makar walk away from July 1st next year, even though he's got a year left, we all know that somebody's going to give him a ridiculous amount of money. So yeah, the Avs aren't trading Cale Makar, but he's going to be signed next July 1st, not this one, 2020.
If Cale Makar is available, what wouldn't you give up, right? You'd happily give up a ridiculous contract and 4 first-round picks for Cale Makar, right? Like,
100%.
We're having a conversation about how Cale Makar was bad in this series, right? He did not play up to his ability. He did not finish to the ability that we believe Cale Makar is. He had 5 points in a 7-game series as a defenseman. For Makar, that is bad. For just about any other defenseman in the league, that's a pretty good series.
100%. But he didn't, as where you say it all the time, and that's your line. Go make a superstar play, right?
And
we didn't see a superstar
I
play.
agree.
He didn't do it. And he knows that.
I'm just saying, the context matters here.
I know. The context, but We know that. Joe said it. Joe talked about it late in the presser. C-Mac said it. We say the first guy that would tell you is Cale Makar himself. 100% he did not like his player. They're out in the first round. He'd be the first guy to tell you, like, I didn't play up to my potential. But yeah, because his potential is absolutely bonkers. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're, like you said, 5 points and we're like, whatever, and a gazillion chances. And yeah, they didn't go. You don't get paid to, right, to close or get chances. You get paid to produce, make a play, and win, right? And that's what makes you the best on the planet. He didn't do that. I'll give him his praises all the time. You guys know he's my favorite player. He's the guy I pick. If I have to build a team, that's the guy I pick. I don't want to hear McDavid. I don't want to hear anyone else. He's the guy. But the 7-game series, he didn't do that. You know what I mean? And that's, I'm not blaming him. It's just, it's life. You know, and he'd be the first guy to tell you that he can make plays way more than he did. It just didn't happen. So.
Yep. It is what it is. You can't go back. Even you saw the Sakic say, hey, the past is the past. You can only move forward with it. So the Avs are where they are. They also still have Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar. And I don't know. If you don't believe in those two to take the Avs somewhere, maybe you just don't believe in the Avs at all. So obviously they have to build the pieces. They have to find a way to overcome whatever this inability to score a clutch goal was this season. I don't know. I don't know how you solve the clutch factor thing, but one of the few things I disagreed with on that interview with MacFarland was on Brock Nelson. And not that Brock Nelson had a terrible series or anything, but you created a team where you trade away Mikko Rantanen to go get Marty Necas and Jack Drury. Those are good hockey players, guys that come in and help your team, but they aren't goal scorers the way Mikko Rantanen was. So you went out to get Brock Nelson to be a secondary goal scorer for you on this team, and it gives you 0 goals in 7 games. Not good enough. You needed a guy that can score a goal for you in this series. You lost 3 1-goal games, essentially 2 1-goal games and 1 empty netter in the 3-4-2 final game. You needed someone to finish. Nathan MacKinnon certainly finished well. We've talked about Cale Makar's struggles. If you think he needed to finish, fair enough. No argument there. But Brock Nelson was supposed to be the guy who helped your second line finish goals.
Yeah, and the Avs paid a price to get him. And I think as a player, you know that too. And you feel that you're coming in and you want to just, blend in and kind of start producing, and which he did at times when, he got here after the deadline. But then they got you for the playoffs. And then if you look back, I think Ben had an appreciation for Nelson. We all did have an appreciation for Brock Nelson. But you're right. You go 0 in 7 games. You were brought in here to make a difference. Just 1 goal. 1 goal might have made the difference, right? You know what I mean? And I think that athletes, too many times people think that, they pack away their stuff, they go away for the summer. It weighs on you. And I'm sure he's a good person. And I don't know Brock, but I'm sure, and I've heard he's a good person. And somewhere, somehow, you're going to evaluate yourself and go, yeah, I missed a boat there. Last I checked, he's never won a Stanley Cup. And I can probably tell you that this was, and I know he went to the semis with the Islanders and, again, average teams, right? Let's not be, let's be fair. They were average teams. And this is probably the best team he's ever been on. That's probably your best chance at going to get a cup, best chance at going into the UFA season this summer with a Stanley Cup. And yeah, it's probably cost him a lot of money. I don't care what people say. I know people are going to give him money, but it might have cost him a lot of money. Yeah, he didn't produce. He didn't get it done. And again, that's the Avalanche, but, himself as well. You can't go 0 for 7 when you brought in there, to help out offensively, and we just didn't see it.
Yep. It's what it is. I don't have a ton else to say today. Obviously, we have the whole rest of the offseason to talk about who they should sign, what contract should look like. So we are going to wrap up for today. We're just going to have to stew in it for a little bit longer. But, of course, the pod will be back tomorrow. So keep tuning in. It's 5 days a week in the offseason as we dig through the rest of these playoffs. And make no mistake, the Avs have a lot of work to do this offseason. Maybe not as much as next offseason, but they have a lot of work to do this offseason. So go check out the DNVR.com for all of our coverage. We do a bunch of events. if you want to forget about the Avs, come join the Rooftop Rockies, where you don't have to watch the Rockies, but you can hang out and drink some beers and have a good time at the very least. We appreciate y'all. We are going to get out of here, though, as there are other shows coming up, but work to do, and eventually you got to get through it and get over it. Ray Bennett will be somewhere else. So at least you're here. We appreciate it. This has been the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.